Here we go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Jones out of the gun, empty set, 3 receivers stacked to the right side. Jones looks left initially, throws that way to Warren inside the 5, stretching for the pylon. Touchdown! Tyler Warren, his first receiving score in the NFL. Tyler Warren puts 6 on the board for the Colts and a spike job to boot. With 11:33 to go in the second quarter, the Colts have the lead 6-3. A.J. Cole on to punt in his 7th year out of NC State. So far this year, he ranks 6th in average at 51.2, and it's blocked. The ball is available around the 10-yard line. There's a mad dash for it. A scramble inside the 10. Shegu Alubi blocks the punt. Las Vegas ends up with the football, but it's recovered by the Raiders inside the 10-yard line, and that's where the Colts will start after a block punt on special teams. Under center goes Jones, and they give it to Taylor, sweeping out. He's around the 5, crashes in, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor, touchdown! I-N-D-Y, and the Colts get it in after a blocked punt. It's the Colts 13, Raiders 3. Geno Smith takes a shotgun snap. Great protection, dancing in the pocket, throws it up into the air. The ball is batted in the air, and it's tipped and intercepted by Laiatu Latu, his 2nd interception this season. Taylor in motion to the right. Jones backs to pass. Late blitz. Jones flushed out of the pocket right. Throws into the end zone. Yes, touchdown, Michael Pittman Jr. What a catch. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Wow. So Jalen Travis is eligible on this play. Jones under center. Straight give. Jonathan Taylor makes a man miss in the backfield and scoots to his right into the end zone. 2 touchdowns today for JT. And now they have a commanding lead at 26-3. Out of the gun goes Jones, sweeping left. Taylor cuts back at the 5 into the end zone. He dances in again. 3 of them today. 3 touchdowns for Jonathan Taylor. The Colts now lead 38-3. 3 touchdowns today for Jonathan Taylor. 40-6. The final score on the Ruoff Mortgage scoreboard. The Colts win by a whopping 34 points.
Hey, welcome in. That is Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts right there. We're at Twin Peaks in Castleton. Thank you all for joining us. Dev is the on-site engineer on a Monday. I know normally we don't do Monday live shows, but I love when we do, and especially when we do this at Twin Peaks in Castleton, Northeast Side. I would love to see you because there is no better way to celebrate, if you're a Colts fan, a win in the fashion in which they did it. Then I'm way ahead of you right here. Then an ice-cold beer at Twin Peaks. And the great food, they got it all for you. And we're going to get you set for Monday Night Football, which is of consequence if you're a Colts fan. There is a significant I know we got Cubs fans out there, too, that will be watching the Cubs later on tonight. But this Monday Nighter is of consequence. And I know you're immediately going to say, well, I know it's in Jacksonville and AFC South. And yeah, but also because Kansas City. And not only are the Chiefs on the schedule at the dump known as Arrowhead later on this year, but think about it from this angle now. And I think it's okay to start thinking about it. We're into the second month of the season. And when you look at those that were predicted to be atop the AFC, there are a number of significant teams, like, for example, the Baltimore Ravens on the struggle bus, like, for example, the LA Chargers on the struggle bus. You've got some squads that are still on the Colts schedule that are struggling right now. And the Colts get off to a great start now on the season at 4-1. And also, I think you've gone through so much mediocrity, and there's been so much conversation and griping and pissing and moaning and being critical. This is a great opportunity for you to just soak all this up on a Monday afternoon, right? Why not? I thought yesterday, and Jake and I were doing the crossover brought to you by Love Heating and Air, and I was thinking yesterday, as he and I were up in the press box, I was thinking about how deserving I felt that the fan base was, the local fan base was, of it. And it's not like you're leaving no doubt against a team that's wronged you in the past, although, they did have a rogue dude take out your kicker for the season. And we'll get to that story coming up in a minute. That's lame as hell. But that happened, and now the Colts are going to be on the lookout for a new place kicker, hopefully for the remainder of the year that you can find. We'll go over some names with you in just a bit, too. But I was thinking about it more of how much bad football, how much boring football, how much losing football you have seen for the past handful of years. And yesterday, I thought if there was a fan base around the NFL that this was good for, it was you guys. If there was any fan base that deserved a 40 spot on the board and to be able to enjoy every last aspect and have no thought of there being a walk out of that stadium with a loss, you could enjoy everything about it. You could even enjoy Anthony Richardson to A.D. Mitchell, which I don't know if anybody else felt this way. And I hate to say it, I know this sounds critical, but this is the truth. That, in a microcosm, was exactly what it felt like to be a Colts fan. That one pass play, what it felt like to be a Colts fan the 2 years prior. And how just stratospherically different it has been so far through the first 5 weeks of the season. And this team being 4-1. And here's why I bring that up. Because you could tell that Richardson's the backup. And again, it was a pass of no consequence. It was like a 40-yard absolute laser from Richardson that also in the process was about 20 yards beyond A.D. Mitchell, the intended receiver. And then when they both go to the sideline, you have A.D.'s kind of tapping on his helmet. And I think the moral of the story here is these guys weren't on the same page. And that is what has been so different about this team. Offensively, they've been on the same page. You know how many of these dudes are the same dudes that we have seen in the past around here? They're the same dudes, same guys. Other than Tyler Warren, who we'll get to him being an absolute manimal coming up in just a minute, too. I think he could be utilized in even greater capacity. They haven't found anybody out there that can do it. Well, actually, they have. The officials can do something with him because anytime he puts his hands and these guys go flailing backwards, they call offensive pass interference on him twice now in back-to-back games, which is highly unusual. But as I mentioned yesterday on X, Tyler Warren's an absolute badass. He is a bad. So you could utilize him, I think, even more if you wanted to. Then you'll say, well, the defensive schemes will catch up with him. I'll get to that in a second. Let me double back to the point I was trying to make regarding what has been the recent history and what is now with this offense. We're talking about all the same guys, basically the same dudes. And look at what level that they're playing. I don't want to hear about the schedule and who they're playing against and how bad the teams are. Listen, you can't be 4-1 and go, well, hey, you know what? Instead of Arizona coming in here that has bumbled, fumbled, and literally stumbled through the last 3 games and losses, and especially yesterday and how they were done at home against Tennessee. Instead of that, we know everybody out there is going to suggest how easy our schedule is. So can you bring in a better team? Can you go out there and bring in Buffalo or maybe how New England's playing right now? Can you bring in a better team? Because, clearly, no. All you can do is play those on your schedule. And that's what was such a gauge. I mentioned that to Chris Hagan on Fox 59 Overtime last night. What made that a gauge is you did to a team exactly what that team needed done to them. That's what the Raiders should have expected. Without Brock Bowers, they had zero weapons. And they had a quarterback whose head is spinning on his you remember those days here recently of having a quarterback that kind of looks like that? Yeah, Colts fans, you don't have to go back too far to think about what it was like to feel like that. And that's how the Raiders are feeling right now. They get off to a tremendous week one start, and since that point in time, it has been an absolute avalanche of disaster for them. But you know what? The Colts playing a team coming off a bad loss at home to the Bears. They did exactly to that team what you need to be doing to that team. And I looked down from the press box yesterday just kind of thinking, man, this fan base deserves that. Because you guys are having fun with it. I mean, some people were leaving early, but others were hanging around and staying. You guys are having fun with it, and it's been a long damn time since you've been able to have that amount of fun. And then it also be meaningful because you're 4-1. And you put the pressure on Jacksonville to try to keep pace. I mean, hell, you put the pressure on the Chiefs if you want to go ahead and know the truth of it, to try to maintain. You get off to, and because this Colts team, even in good years, rarely have they gotten off to good starts that you have seen. This is something you can grasp. It is great because you can take advantage of a schedule that is coming up that includes Arizona, as I mentioned, the bumbling, the stumbling, and the fumbling literally yesterday, if you watched that. Yeah, if you picked Arizona like me, there was a feel-good moment in the fourth, and then numbnuts dropped the football like everybody is doing, whatever reason. We saw a week ago here with the Colts on the road in Southern California. You drop the football in celebration before you get to the end zone, and you start the trend of your team losing. And you saw his head coach, Jonathan Gannon, get into him on the sideline yesterday. I don't get it. And maybe you have to be in the NFL or to play football to get it. There are some things, however, that I don't think you have to have played or to have been a coach. You know, when people say that, well, you know what, you've never been a coach or you've never been a player, or, whatever. Here's what I do know. I do know that to score, you need to get the football into the stinking end zone. It doesn't take a former player or a coach of any magnitude to understand that. So I don't know really where that trend is. And I don't know by now how these guys don't carry this son of a gun all the way until they either spike it or hand it to the official. I have no idea. But people are going to look at that as, well, look, you got Arizona limping in. I will say this. The one thing that the Cardinals, outside of yesterday's disaster, will have going for them next week, the one thing is that if there is somebody around the NFL that is going to know Shane Steichen offensively, it is going to be that of Jonathan Gannon. I know it's easy to kind of look at the Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray can be a threat. I don't know if you saw the play yesterday where the ball was snapped, hit him in the grill, it was fumbled, and then I think he had to be checked out. I don't think he got officially checked into concussion protocol, but he had to go to the sideline, and then former Colts backup Jacoby Brissett went in for a play. Interesting, right? Certainly a story we shall follow coming up, but I want to get back to the point I was making. Jonathan Gannon is a guy, probably above all else because of that Eagle staff, that probably should know what Shane Steichen does more than anybody. So maybe that's the lone thing that they have going for them. But you look ahead at this Colts schedule, and you look at that matchup coming up next week at home against Arizona, opportunities to take advantage of that, and then on the road against a Chargers team that just looks a mess right now. You watched them yesterday lose to the Commanders 27-10. 3-2 and an absolute mess after that. Tennessee, and I don't care if they did get their first win yesterday and the rookie Cam Ward's first win of the season. They're a disaster. We've seen that firsthand down in Nashville. And then you get that True Gauge coming up to start the month of November. Actually go back-to-back. I think the Berlin game against Atlanta is going to be a lot tougher than what people believe because Atlanta's able to run the football. And I've talked to Rick Venturi and he's going to join us coming up next week for kind of a quarter mark of the season, a little more than a quarter mark of the season evaluation of this team. But we were talking yesterday in the Colts pregame huddle, and I brought up the point. I think teams could honestly run even more against the Colts if they've either decide to run or focus to run even more on the Colts, or if they were able to, because all of a sudden you don't have to change up your philosophy at all because you're playing from behind. I think teams are able to, especially if you kind of go outside the tackles, I think you're going to be able to run. I know Genti had 67 yards on the ground yesterday, but 14 carries, there's no way you're going to be able to stick to that because the Colts get out and get going. And what really was impressive to me is that they started slow. That was very reminiscent of recent history. The first offensive possession, the first defensive possession, which led to a field goal, they didn't look good, and they being the Colts. And I want to give credit because I don't know if anybody else is giving credit, and I did yesterday on X as well. I want to give credit to Tyquan Lewis because in a 40-6 blowout, and you're not going to think of very many situations of consequence, I guess, but I thought early in that game, where it looked as if the Raiders were going to go in and score, put up 7. They were held to 3 because of the sack off the edge from Tyquan Lewis. I thought if there was a large moment in that game, that was one of those moments. So a shout-out to Tyquan Lewis for that play. And then, once the Colts got into gear really on both sides, it was really, I'll take this from the month of July and Shark Week. It was a feeding frenzy much after that. And it was a team that was really looking for any reason, I thought, to go away yesterday. And there's no doubt the Vegas Raiders went away yesterday. But you look ahead at the schedule, you kind of feel good about that. I'm not trying to get ahead of it at all, but I'm just kind of charting a path to where this thing can maintain, where you believe right now, but you can believe even more. And a shout-out to Tyquan Lewis. I mentioned this to Jake a little bit earlier. Who has benefited more of the presence of the other, Daniel Jones or Shane Steichen? And the reason why I brought this up, and I couldn't go into detail during the crossover brought to you by Love Heating and Air, but the reason why I brought that question up is you can see, I think, in the play calling freedom that Shane Steichen has that clearly he did not have. I know this sounds like that I'm sitting here ripping on Richardson, and I'm not. I am just trying to point out the drastic difference between one quarterback leading an offense and then being coached offensively compared to another in Daniel Jones. And simply put, there is no comparison. Because with Shane Steichen, you can tell that he has confidence, and I mentioned this with Genti. I described him as kind of having training wheels, and there are some Raider fans that didn't like that, but who cares? But you could tell that there was pieces of the playbook that Steichen was apprehensive about going to with Richardson. Whereas you can tell how wide-ass open everything is with Daniel Jones. And I've mentioned in the past, there wasn't a lot you could really take away of when the Colts said something organizationally or coaching-wise, and it was meaningful. Well, wanting somebody to preside over the offense, to make those pre-snap decisions, and then to make the right call after the football is snapped, to not make mistakes to make sure teammates are in the right spots. Another great example of that was when Daniel Jones is rolling right, which I thought was an absolute laser to Michael Pittman Jr., who made a great catch in the end zone. I mean, that was all kind of a scramble. Everything was initially covered. And what Jones knew that Pittman Jr. was going to come back and try to find a little bit of a window to make a play in the end zone on a scramble situation. That's exactly what happened. And that is the form of trust that Steichen has in his quarterback. And while you can certainly see, and you're going to say, well, wait a minute, the offensive line, the protection is much better here than it was with the Giants. And while that is true, I think the offensive line has been made better in protection because of the decision-making of Jones. So I think that is an interesting debate if you want to have it. And certainly it should be feel-good because either answer is a good one. But who has been more beneficial to the other? The quarterback in Jones or the head coach now having the quarterback in Jones and Shane Steichen? That was a pretty interesting question and something we'll play off of over the course of the afternoon. I do have a lot more for you as well. Yet the only non-redeeming quality that you can get out of this is now there is zero way this is not going to have, in some form or fashion, substantial impact. Spencer Schrader, who was, the special teams player of the month, what was he? I think the month of September, but has been everything so far that Matt Gay wasn't when he was signed as a high-dollar free agent here prior to. He was the answer. And you know what? You want to have the answer in that capacity. You want to feel as if, know as if, in this case, you have the answer. And that's what is so problematic, because now you got to turn back the clock to square one here and find somebody that's capable of being the answer. And that is one thing that you hate dealing with. There are a lot of great aspects about this team and what they've accomplished so far, but the one thing you don't want to have to jack around with is anytime during the season feel as if you have to go out and get another kicker. Yeah, I know the Buffalo situation. They're waiting on Bass's return. I don't know. Was he back last night? I don't think he was. I couldn't remember if he was back last night or not. But anyway, that's an example of teams that are waiting on a kicker to be healthy or a kicker's return or having to go out because of the lack of results with a kicker and get somebody else. And this is something that you don't want to have to deal with, but the Colts are going to be forced to do it because Spencer Schrader is done for the season. Torn ACL and MCL, I believe, is what was reported earlier today by ESPN. And you guys are asking me, now I know that Automatics, James, I believe Trujillo out of Temple was in here for camp. I believe he was an extra point kicker only, and I think he went 4 for 4. He does, however, own the record for the longest make in the history of Lincoln Financial Field, that as a member of the Temple Owls. Now, he also was released once they got down to the mandated roster before the start of the season. I think he got some kind of injury financial of training camp. Maddox Trujillo was a guy that was in camp. So if you're asking me who was in camp, that's who that was. And then you have like the garden variety of other names that are out there. Michael Badgley, you know him very well. Certainly been around here before. Austin Siebert's a guy. Zane Gonzalez, another dude that's been there. Was it the Falcons that cut loose Young-Ho Koo because of his lack of effectiveness? That is another name out there. I'm sure we'll come up with probably more than a handful of other names, but that is something we'll be talking about again over the course of the afternoon. Greg Rakestraw, I think, had a great answer to this last night because everybody thinks, well, you bring in Blankenship. He's been on TikTok. He was in the UFL, and he's been here before. Greg Rakestraw said something on the postgame show last night that was accurate. He said probably the Colts will not limit their search for a place kicker for Schrader to just a player that's walked through those doors on West 56th Street before. And there's a lot of truth to that. So we'll get to that story coming up as well. And the weekend that included the incident regarding Mark Sanchez. We'll get into that. The former NFL quarterback facing a felony battery charge. So now that is a felony, as we saw prosecutor Ryan Mears announce a little bit earlier today. We'll get into that story. And a story like that in social media turns folks into the absolute worst. The absolute worst. Now, I feel bad because I did kind of lean back a little bit over the weekend. And, of course, it's not a funny situation. But everybody that decides to chime in, I shouldn't say everybody, many that decided to chime in over the weekend on this made it a comedy act, a comedy routine because of the stupidity. Believe me, I've been down that path before. I've made mistakes in social media. It's kind of like this. When you go down that path and you drop the football before the goal line once, hopefully you're never going to do it again. So that's me. I've dropped the football before the goal line before. Hopefully I will never do that again. But, man, this weekend, the jackassery around here was abounding. The local jackassery was epic. Well done, everybody. Good Lord. We'll get into that story coming up, too. Twin Peaks, Northeast Side, I would love to see you. The ice-cold beer is here, the great food. And we've got conversations at 239-1070 coming up with you on the other side as well. Stephen Holder, also of ESPN, in the 5 o'clock hour. We've also got the text line, which is officially underway at 317-239-1070. That, too. The stream, the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Back with you next.
Let me have a Diablo sandwich, a Dr. Pepper. Make it fast. I'm in a damn hurry.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So it's second down and 10 from the 11-yard line. The Colts are down by a field goal. Jones out of the gun, empty set, 3 receivers stacked to the right side. Jones looks left initially, throws that way to Warren inside the 5, stretching for the pylon. Touchdown! Tyler Warren, his first receiving score in the NFL. Tyler Warren puts 6 on the board for the Colts and a spike job to boot. With 11:33 to go in the second quarter, the Colts have the lead 6-3.
Hey, welcome back. Hey, I'm live at Twin Peaks on a Monday in Castleton. Love for you to join us. Dev's the on-site engineer. James back at the studio. Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts yesterday, and the Colts dismantling the Raiders 40-6. Arizona on the inbound, looking like they can't get out of their own way. And indeed, recently, they've not been able to. More on that coming up. Stephen Holder going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour on what I'm sure right now is now an ongoing place-kicking search for the Colts, with Schrader being done for the season, as was reported earlier today. ACL and MCL, according to ESPN, on that hit that he took yesterday after the kick. And the Colts will be in need of a place kicker, a replacement for the season. Talk about that with Stephen coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. I did want to remind you of this before I get to the phones. I saw this in Chris and Quinn and JJ and Eddie, our friends from Pacers TV. 72 games this season. Pacers TV have for you as well. I did want to make sure I mentioned that. I know Fan Jam was yesterday, and Chris Denary was the MC of that. Cannot wait until the hoopage with the blue and gold is officially back, which I believe in the preseason begins coming up tomorrow. Meantime, 239-1070 is that number, 317-239-1070 on the text line. I will read your stuff. I will talk with you like I will Tony right now. Tony, thank you for the call. How are you?
Hey, Andy.
Hello, Tony.
Hey, the Colts.
I got you, bud. Go ahead.
I guess like everybody, everybody in the Colts jersey enjoyed that game last night. It's been fun watching them. Hopefully, obviously, it can keep going. I talked to you last week a little bit about Mitchell and how I felt about him. I feel he's a tremendous talent. I think there's a place for him in this lineup and on this team. But let me throw something out there, and you tell me if I'm totally crazy.
Yes.
When you've got Mitchell and you've got Alec Pierce and you've got Doolin and you've got Gold, who are 4 of the fastest players in the NFL, if you lined 2 of them up on every play, rotate them around to give them a chance to rest on every play, and ran both of them deep, those defenders have got to go with them, and by second quarter, their ass is going to be dragging. And if they don't stay up with them, you've got a wide open. And I think it would open things up even, mid-range. But I've never coached, so Steichen could tell me I'm absolutely crazy. But it was just a silly thought, I guess.
Hey, Tony, thank you very much. Well, I want to mention Alec Pierce because he didn't play for the second consecutive time yesterday. He's, to me, a substantial loss. He makes Daniel Jones, to many, believe him not having a deep ball. He more than legitimizes that because Daniel Jones throws a nice deep ball, jump ball. It may not be the strong-armed out there deep ball that people like to talk about, but he can put it up and get it out there and throw it up for Alec Pierce. He is entirely necessary. How about Ashton Doolin did a great job yesterday, too. They're not waiting around on Richardson. They're not going to wait around on Mitchell to evolve and get things right. They have enough the way that it is. But they do need Alec Pierce back. Tony, thank you for the call. Eddie is up next at 239-1070. Eddie, hello. How are you?
Hey, JMV, it's Eddie from H.H. Greg.
Hello, Eddie. Long time no talk, bro.
Yeah. I never thought I'd be sitting here today thinking that the Colts should be 5-0. Didn't think that would be a thought I'd be having. On Anthony Richardson, I'm done with him as a quarterback, but with an athlete, you think there's got to be some place you could put him on the field. That's my thought.
Hey, thank you, Eddie. Yeah, I think his place on the field is on the sideline. I think everybody's pretty solid with that. Got no complaints there. You got a 27-year-old quarterback that has been like a duck in water. I sound like Forrest Gump with that example right there in terms of this offense and his head coach. I can't tell you how refreshing it is to watch it. But Richardson's gig is the backup gig, and you saw that yesterday. Eddie, thank you for the call. JMV, I think this may sound a little crazy, but how about Justin Tucker? Not sure his situation. His situation is he is not available, I don't think, to return, if anybody would like to do it, until week number 10. So week number 10 of the season, I believe, is that timeline, and that is not realistic at all. It may not be realistic anyway, but it sure as hell is not realistic. I don't know if what he might face upon his return, but he's not eligible until week number 10. If anybody out there would have any interest, and the Colts have to get something and get something right now. Thank you, Brian in Lafayette. 239-1070. Mike is in Brooklyn, New York. Hello, Mike. How are you?
JMV, what's up?
Mike, what's happening?
It's been a while since the Manning era, but I think it's time that we all have to start recalibrating our standard of expectations. And yesterday was a good start. They took care of business against a inferior, depleted Raiders team, did exactly what you said, beat them exactly, it was never in doubt. And that's a good place to start. Not perfect yet, but it's a nice place to start. I felt like, the coaching from top to bottom was much more cohesive and was a good job, but to quote Gordon Gekko from Wall Street, the famous, walkie-talkie phone call with Bud Fox, he said, I wired you some money, you're doing good, but you got to keep doing good. So moving forward, yesterday was a start.
And you're right. I did. Normally I don't do that. I did allow myself. I guess, Mike, I was thinking last night, especially after Buffalo lost to New England, and I was kind of thinking last night, you look around the AFC, and it is not at all what any of us thought, the way that it's looked so far. And I know in the NFL things will drastically change at some point. But you just see, Mike, I think the advantage the Colts have, or the situation they placed themselves in, all the way up basically until the start of November in Pittsburgh. I guess I should go ahead and factor in the Chargers. Still being tough, but the Chargers are playing down and have been, somewhat lousy so far this season as well with the beginning. So the opportunity is there to really carve out a spot for them to have a lot of teams try to track him down. And that was commonplace in the Manning era. And it'd be nice to revert back to that, I think, this season.
Well, I'm already there, JMV. I'm already there. The Schrader thing is just one of those things that is just sickening. Player of the month, this kid is playing so well, and for something like that to happen on an extra point is just. That's why Ballard, now he's got to do his job. He gets paid the big bucks. You got to figure this out. Lean on the special teams coach, Mason. He's been doing a good job. I also like how they figured out that kickoff rule where the ball was placed on the 25 after they kicked out of bounds. I was like, what the hell? And I was like, oh, it's nice to see your coaching staff actually is ahead of the curve. Instead of you're being baffled by something, you're like, wow, I didn't even know that. So I'm
right there with you, Mike.
Ballard has to do his job.
I'm glad. Hey, by the way, too, really quickly, do you think Jones has been better for Steichen or Steichen for Jones? Who has benefited more from the other in that equation I gave earlier?
Well, I guess I'm a little biased since I've been ragging on my buddies here as Giants fans for years with this whole Danny Dimes thing. I've seen him play. I actually liked him coming out of college. I was upset when the other guy who wore number 12 retired right before the season. I said, well, he might have been somebody that they could have got. But I think, yeah, definitely Steichen and Steichen's offense has, really brought out the best. And he's asking of, Daniel Jones exactly, what he wants in his offense that Richardson couldn't produce. Just like you said, the Colts are pretty much the same team as they were last year, the same cast of characters, but the results are different. So we know that Shane Steichen needs a quarterback more on the cerebral side that could run his offense, could handle all the check with knees and all that sophisticated stuff. A quarterback who's going to be the student of the game. He doesn't have to be able to throw 70-yard bombs, but just function in the offense. And yeah, so I definitely would say that Daniel Jones has benefited from Steichen. Steichen, as an offensive coordinator, as an offensive mind, was never in doubt. He's always been he's one of the best offensive minds. As far as his improving on a head coach, that's where he needs to be. And yesterday was a start, but like I said, you got one game in. Now this week, you got another team, and it's going to be turn the page, rinse and repeat with the Cardinals coming in this week. Same situation.
You got that right.
And you got
Mike in Brooklyn, New York. My brother, I appreciate you. We'll talk at you later on this week too, buddy.
Gotcha. Take care, Jansen.
Mike in Brooklyn, Twin Peaks, Castleton, thank you for joining us on this Monday. More of your calls at 239-1070. Your text line, the stream is on right now, 317-239-1070. Let us hit a break. I will tell you some things that the Colts need to get a lot better at doing through this really nice start at 4-1. We'll tell you that. And the weekend that was, and if you thought it was bad enough, just the incident in general, Mark Sanchez and a 69-year-old delivery driver, the jackassery that prevailed around here in social media was so profound. It was comedy. I mean, put yakety sax behind that. It was like the damn Benny Hill show in fast motion. Just jackassery all the way around. That and more coming up. The college football weekend and your calls on the other side. Twin Peaks, Castleton, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Buddy, Swanson, full steam ahead. Over there. I want to go over there. Move over, Swanson. I'm driving.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Today he passes Edgerrin James and ties Marvin Harrison for the second most total touchdowns by a Colts player in their first 6 seasons. Meanwhile, Geno Smith throws upfield. It's picked off by the Colts. Mekhi Blackmon down the far sideline. 20, 10, 5, and they're going to say he goes out of bounds before he could cruise into the end zone. They're going to say he stepped out of bounds at the 6-yard line, but Geno Smith threw it into a crowd, picked off by Blackmon, returned down to the 6-yard line, and the Colts are back in business.
Mekhi Blackmon with the pick right there. Man, that could have been a pick 6. Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts, on the call right there. I was just happy that Blackmon stayed on his feet. Last week, that was a struggle and a big moment. This week, it was also a struggle in a moment. And then had he kept it in bounds, that could have been a pick 6. Twin Peaks is our location. Colts a big winner. They get Arizona coming up next weekend. Yeah, we'll find out who ended up winning. We're going to have to do that again, James, through the text line right there. That worked out fantastically. We got that. Major League Baseball, NLDS, ALDS, scores from yesterday, and a preview of tonight also coming up, and Stephen Holder of ESPN after 5. And your calls at 239-1070 in just a minute. But Kinsey is here right now. I want everybody to reflect and get to the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Kinsey, look into the camera right there. Do you see everybody? Make sure you wave and say hello to everybody.
Hi, guys.
Everybody is watching out there right now. This is Kinsey. You have worked at Twin Peaks, Castleton for how long?
8 months.
8 months. I'm going to tell you this. You guys have the most outstanding Michelob Ultra ice cold ever.
29 degrees every day.
29 degrees every day. Tell everybody how awesome a Monday is around here, too.
It is great.
You have a Colts win. Everybody's excited. The great food, and then you have Monday Night Football.
Oh, yes. So excited for Monday Night Football
So,
tonight.
how long do you work today? Can I have people come in and ask for you?
I actually, unfortunately, leave here at around 5.
But somebody else will be here.
Yes.
Awesome as well. So,
yes. All of our girls here are great, amazing, great smiles, great personalities, great servers.
What is the best thing on the menu? Because I talk about that all the time. The food here is great as well. What's the best thing on the menu?
We have a lot of great options. Personally, I love our crispy mini tacos. There's something real light, something just fast. If you want something just real quick, I love them.
Now, can I say where you grew up?
Yeah, go for it.
Are you from Fairland, Indiana?
Yes.
Hey, Kinsey here. Shout out to Shelby County is from Fairland, Indiana right here. The pride of Triton Central High School is Kinsey. I'll tell you what, maybe not today because she's going to be on the exit, but at some point, ask for Kinsey.
Come in, see me. I'm a server and a bartender here.
There you go. Tend a little bar here. Kinsey, thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Kinsey is here with our friends from Twin Peaks and Castleton. Thank you very much. Win Schuler Spreadability is back. We know that. There's a Gordon Food Service right up the way off of Masters Road. You can find the spreadability of Win Schuler's as well. Make that on your table for your tailgate, your party, or just some snacking at home later on tonight. Win Schuler's spreadability for you, too. All right, hour number 2 coming up. Your calls at 239-1070. More bullseye passes as well. Your thoughts on the Colts win yesterday, live at Twin Peaks in Castleton on a Monday. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Just got your asses whipped by a bunch of damn nerds.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
For different people in this league.
And they give it to him again, and he slices into the end zone. Amir Abdullah. And he spikes the ball into the end zone, and the Colts have points off of sudden change, and the defense sets up the offense. Abdullah crams the ball across the goal line. 6 more on the board for the Colts, and it's now Indianapolis 32 and the Raiders 3.
Yeah. Matt Taylor right there. Man, the Colts just roll up the Raiders 40-6. I'm going to tell you what, the Raiders had like 9,000 either coaches or coaching assistants or whatever up in the press box yesterday. And there were a disgruntled group, to say the least. They are in a tailspin right now. Week 1 looked great. Geno Smith looked great, and he looked like he hadn't played the position very much and was absolutely under siege yesterday, too. Colts getting Arizona coming up next weekend. We got a busy week for you. I shall explain. Hey, we're back at Twin Peaks on the northeast side in Castleton. Thank you guys for joining us. I do want to get some more calls coming on. Adam, I'm going to get you on here in just a second, but 239-1070 for your Colts reaction. The jackassery of the weekend as well in social media. My goodness. I have learned this before in how to deal with stuff. And it's not like I may not blank up again and screw stuff up, because I've said this. I'm not the brightest bulb in the pack. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. And that is something that I've always realized. And I'm probably ready to screw something up in a moment. But my goodness, just sitting back and watching the local jackassery over this weekend, I hate it that it had to come to that with the 69-year-old man and whatever allegedly Mark Sanchez was about. I guess, James, it was glad he didn't come on the show last week. But no, whatever he was about, whatever was going down there, it sucks. But I did find myself sitting back, and I was rather entertained by some of you dumbasses out there, seriously. So, my goodness. And I mean, those that should know better, entertained. What are you doing? Like, Gov, it's funny. I was going to send this out last night, and I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't. I am not at all, you know this to be true, not at all. In a political, that's the last thing I ever watch, listen, care, nothing. People say, well, you're going with Tony Katz. Well, if you notice, all we do is talk about sports, because I said, man, if it's anything political, then I'm not down with it. And what I do is I separate politics from friendship or friendliness. I think that's okay. Like, I have a lot of friends that may not believe what I believe and vice versa, and I'm not going to lose friends over that stupid crap. I'm just not going to do it. It's just not the way that I'm built. And Tony's always been a friend, and he calls at 7 o'clock every Monday morning when we recap Colts games and stuff like that, and I really enjoy it. And Hammer and Nigel are friends of mine as well, and we convene with a meeting when I'm in studio basically every single day during the week. And the discussion of politics never happens, but I did watch it this weekend, and the bumbling and the stumbling and the fumbling was very reminiscent of watching the Cardinals play in the fourth quarter yesterday. It is hilarious. Just some stupid crap. I met Mike Braun, the governor, before. He actually came up to me and introduced himself, because I'm going to his hometown of Jasper tomorrow. My mom's 80 years old today, and a shout out to G, turning 80. So I'm taking the day off tomorrow and Wednesday, but I'm going down tomorrow, and, of course, she wants to go to Jasper. So we're going to Jasper tomorrow. Shout out to DuBois County. And, one of the reasons why Mike Braun had approached me, the governor of the state of Indiana, back in May, this was over in Speedway, was because he knew that I was really fond of Jasper, and I'm from southwestern Indiana, and that's all cool. The political stuff aside, conversations, when he approached me, it was about, he said, I know you don't like to talk about politics, so I'll leave it at sports and music. And I said, man, that's an A+ right there. So I do separate one from the other here. But wow, social media, and I've learned this from experience, and I try my damnedest not to, and I probably will again step in it. But how many folks stepped in it so majorly this weekend, including good friend of the show, Adam Schefter, also stepped in it. And everybody had to go back and delete. I'm one to suggest that it's okay to delete. Others say, well, you know what? That is a sign that you're weak. You make that statement and you put it out there. I also think that you're also allowed, especially if you make a stupid snap judgment, to give it a little bit more thought and go, you know what? Maybe that wasn't right. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. To me, I think it's okay to delete. I know a lot of folks were made fun. I'm not a fan of Schefter whatsoever. He deleted the whole robbery thing regarding Mark Sanchez, I should say. But I'm okay with deleting, or deletion in this case. But I will tell you this. Over the years, and my whole thing started with Schefter and social media, I do think long and hard about everything that I say, and I think about it, and there is no real 100% fail-safe. But I think about how it's going to be interpreted by everybody. And then I also think about, is this something that I would really say? Is this something I would really respond to or react to? How phony am I going to sound if I send something out like that? Because the one thing that I've always been, which is far from talented, we know that. But the one thing that I've always been is real. I mean, this is me. When you see me here, if you have an ice cold beer at Twin Peaks with me, or you see me out, this is me. If you play hoops with me, if you see me down where I grew up, if you see me up here, I mean, this is just me. I am who I am here and who I am off of the air, and just hanging out with all my friends. And believe me, I have a lot of friends, and I'm very proud of that because I love having friends. Love it. But I always think about, all right, is this something that I would really respond to or talk about if I were with, people outside of social media? And if it isn't, I always kind of rethink it. So it's funny how I will type something up or thumb something up on the phone and go, yeah, you know what? This doesn't sound like me whatsoever. And I kind of think to myself how it's going to be interpreted. I'm not, again, telling you at all this is a fail-safe because we can all still screw this up. But, man, I would think if there is a page in a manual about how you should handle social media, especially if you're somebody that is much higher, and I mean much higher up the scale than you or I, maybe think about that. Just a thought. Maybe think about how phony you could end up sounding, how ridiculous you can end up sounding. And while I understand you reserve the right to make a mistake, oftentimes people are not going to allow you to ever forget about it. So bear that in mind as well. And with that, the story of former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez now facing a felony battery charge over an altercation between the former NFL quarterback and a 69-year-old truck driver. That happened, of course, early Saturday morning, downtown Indy. Ryan Mears, who is the Marion County prosecutor, announced the upgraded charge earlier today, saying Sanchez faces a level 5 felony charge of battery, quote, involving serious bodily injury. those pictures of the 69-year-old delivery driver, or truck driver in this case, that was hard to look at. It really was. And punishment can range from 1 to 6 years in prison. That according to Mears. So that was announced earlier today on what all took place and really started on Saturday morning. And a lot of you folks out there hit me up on X and said, hey, have you heard about this? Sunday, if you want to double back to that, Sanchez was charged with battery with injury, public intoxication, unlawful entry of a vehicle, and all misdemeanors right there. And Sanchez scheduled for a court hearing Tuesday on the original charges, but that was rescheduled for November the 4th. And evidently, I don't know if that's still the case right now or not, but as of this morning, he was still hospitalized, I think. They say, according to ESPN.com, as of this morning. So you guys all by now know the story of Mark Sanchez over the weekend. That is the latest. So a felony is a part of that right now. Listen, I just kind of watched all this go down and thought, wow, there's really no need for my input on this right here. Maybe that's the way to do it, huh? I don't know if that's maturation or if it's just not how I am. But, man, others in a, again, much higher category than I, much higher profile, probably should learn a little bit, or those handlers of those should learn a little bit from that experience, because that was a bad look this weekend. And that's, again, what social media can do to you. Social media will take no prisoners. And no doubt about that. All right, 239-1070 is that number. I don't even know if I didn't do this show, if I would be on it or not. I was talking to our executive producer, Todd Meyer, James, a little bit earlier. I don't know if I would be on it or not. I do enjoy the back and forth. Sometimes the jackassery wears me out. This was elite-level jackassery over the weekend. Like, if I'm the governor, I go, oh, hell. You not have an advisor or the lieutenant governor or some of those in news around here? Some of those that simply put should probably know better. I mean, it did. Yakety Sax should have been playing in the background. It was like watching an episode of Benny Hill back in the 1980s. Pretty damn ridiculous. Hey, by the way, too, James, shout out, was that Calvin Fitch that's going to Bullseye on us, our first winner off the text line?
That is correct.
Calvin Fitch, who is a big-time listener of the show. I didn't mind the whole text line action right there. That is well done. All right, 239-1070, other stuff we talk about. This is a sports show. That's sports relatable. This is a sports show live at Twin Peaks on the northeast side. Colts get a win. Colts now 4-1. Get Arizona next weekend in a blowout of the Raiders 40-6, and all the good things about it. My major focus today was this. Has the head coach or the quarterback benefited more by the other's presence, meaning Daniel Jones or Shane Steichen? Who has benefited more in the first 5 games of the season? Because as much as a rebirth for Daniel Jones as this has been this season so far for him in Indy, I think it's also been the same for Shane Steichen. Has it not? Compared to how you felt about him with that of right now? I also have for you some things that can lead to the undoing for the Colts, too. So there are, even in a 4-1 start and a 40-6 blowout over the Raiders, there are a couple of concerns. Spencer Schrader done for the season, so the Colts are on the lookout for a new place kicker. That certainly is one, but 2 others, and both of which are on the defensive side of the football. I would also ask you this. He looks unstoppable other than in the past 2 games a yellow flag. And he looks like that you could utilize him even more. When's the last time a weapon like Tyler Warren has been around here? This guy, I mentioned this yesterday, he is a complete badass. And maybe teams defensively catch up with how to deal with him. But let's just face it right now. These teams so far really have had no clue. And the Colts could have gone even deeper in utilizing him offensively than they have. Your thoughts on that? That and more at 239-1070 is the number. The text line is 317-239-1070 as well. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Watch, listen, discuss, have at it as we go to Adam at 239-1070 right now. Adam, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, John. How you doing? Happy Victory Monday.
Adam, it was great to see you guys yesterday in Touchdown Town, brother.
Oh, yeah, and I actually sent the link to your show to my buddy. He's on the road right now to go back to Illinois to check on his mom, and then he's going to be headed back to Arizona. But he was all good about it. The game was cool. It was a good environment for him to check it out. He enjoyed meeting you, and he looks to do it again here in the near future.
That is absolutely outstanding. You guys saw a great game yesterday. You ran a little bit this weekend, so the world of Adam was complete, I guess, right?
Yeah, in a sense. I mean, my high school team won Friday night. Saturday, Notre Dame won. Sunday, the Colts came up and got a rebuttal from that loss we had last week.
No doubt. They did make up for that. There's no question about that. So, and again, with the Raiders being bad, it was still a significant test or gauge because they didn't let up. They didn't let that Rams game give them a hangover. And after that really first offensive and defensive series, they owned absolutely everything. They suffocated the Raiders yesterday. That's what you wanted to see.
I was nervous. The only thing I was nervous about was that Max Crosby. I mean, that was pretty much about it. But, I mean, we handled business, and we're on the right track. And as you would say, the sports arousal, my friend, is very well and going, let me tell you.
Got that right. Anything else, Adam?
Yeah, I also want to give a shout-out to your mom. Happy birthday to her.
Man, she would love that. She's going to Jasper tomorrow. So, we're going to – I don't know what the hell we're doing, but we're going. Maybe Schnitzelbank, something like – probably Schnitzelbank with Alan down there. But thank you, Adam.
Oh, yeah, and I also got a race in Indianapolis this weekend on Saturday, and I will be down there for the football game on Sunday.
My brother, it was great to see you guys yesterday. We'll see you again Sunday.
Sounds good.
239-1070 is that number, at JMV 1070 on the social media platform X. Jim McCann in Southern California says, I heard a rumor that the Mark Sanchez jackassery may have tried to make its way into Saturday night's hairband hashtag JMV takeover. True story. I had to, and you know what I mean? At some point, yeah, and hell, maybe that's now. But on Saturday night, when you're calling up and requesting, and I know that you think it's funny and you go, hey, why can't you play it? Why can't you play Bryan Adams and Cuts Like a Knife? Well, I probably don't want to do that on Saturday. So I had to turn back some requests that were kind of going in that angle because you got to find out more, and, people were still injured and hurt. But I'm assuming there will be some point to when that certainly would be more appropriate. But no, to answer your question, Jim, yes. I mean, there was a Peter Murphy song that was requested, and you can all do the research on that. And I had to turn that away. Thank you. BT says, do you think Mitchell learned his lesson? A microcosm of what you had witnessed during the Richardson Colts quarterback-led squads of the past couple of years was when Richardson was in and then threw that absolute laser about 30 yards over the head of A.D. Mitchell because they weren't on the same page. That's what it had felt like. Up until that point, there's a new situation. That's what the new and fresh and you're rejuvenated about with Daniel Jones. And then you got one play where you go, oh, yeah, I remember that. And then you feel fortunate of having it the way that it is right now. A microcosm. JMV, neither coach or Daniel are as relieved as Ballard with the DJ resurgence. I thought the Ballard calls to be fired have seemed too slow with this start. Doug Bruce in Bloomington, Indiana. People are asking me right now, so what do you do? Are you thinking about extensions for everybody? I will say this. We can, and you are allowed to be excited and to get a little bit ahead of yourself. Not that far ahead of yourself. I mean, just we can chill out on everything like that right now. Everything is in a good spot, and seemingly, if they continue to play like this, it can maintain. But I would argue, you look back to the past, there are so many same individuals, same personnel on this team. And look at what a quarterback can do. And the Colts have been right about this, what a decision-making quarterback can do. Rick Venturi has been right about this, what a decision-making, positive decision-making quarterback can do. I mean, essentially, other than Tyler Warren, everybody's the same offensively. What is the major difference? And then Shane Steichen doesn't feel as if a lot of the playbook cannot be utilized. I mean, you can see it. He doesn't have to hold back now because, well, I don't know about the decision-making in this situation, that situation. You can see the comfort in the coach, in the play caller, and the quarterback. You see the connection. That's what's necessary. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Twin Peaks, we are on the northeast side. We're in Castleton. We've got more for you, including, hey, Dev, that thing just went off for some reason right there. That was really weird. 239-1070 is the number. 317-239-1070 on the text line as well. Stuff to give away. I'll explain. More bullseye passes. And I mentioned me being out the next 2 days. Greg Rakestraw is going to be in, but road shows Thursday and Friday where you can join as well. I'll tell you about that coming up next. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Understand the words you just said.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Jones out of the gun. Taylor back in as the back left. Tight ends Mo Alley Cox and Tyler Warren right, along with Michael Pittman Jr. to the wide side of the field. Taylor in motion to the right. Jones backs to pass. Late blitz. Jones flushed out of the pocket right. Throws into the end zone. Yes, touchdown, Michael Pittman Jr. What a catch. Touchdown, I-N-D-Y. He caught that ball into double coverage. Hung on, survived the ground, completed the catch for a touchdown.
Matt Taylor on the call right there. I thought that was a tremendous play by Daniel Jones. And I thought that also is a great description of this offense and how it is clicking. Because that was Michael Pittman Jr. in a scramble mode. Daniel Jones out of the pocket, sliding to his right, making a tough throw, Pittman Jr. making a tough catch, but that was also a play about recognition. Another situation in which in the past you kind of wonder if that's what you get, and in all likelihood that's exactly what you're not going to get, which is why this has worked so well to a 4-1 start. I'll get back to that coming up in just a minute. I should mention yesterday, ALDS, Vlad Guerrero Jr., a grand slam, the first grand slam in the history of the Blue Jays in the postseason. I can't believe George Bell. I can't believe Jesse Barfield. If you would have told me that Joe Carter or any of the incredible Blue Jays, Kelly Gruber never hit a grand slam in the postseason for the Blue Jays. You got Ernie Witt never hit a grand slam. What? Vlad Guerrero Jr., the first grand slam of the history of the Blue Jays in the postseason. They were all over the Yankees. It was not even this close, 13-7. They're up 2-0 in that best-of-5 ALDS. But the Mariners evening things up, and they needed to, too. Jorge Polanco, he goes yard not once but twice against Tarek Skubal, I should say. And 3-2 the final, Mariners over the Tigers. And that best-of-5 going back to Detroit, even at a game apiece. Later on tonight, Cubs and Brewers. Cubs down a game, and that best-of-5 in Milwaukee. 9:08 is the first pitch. And the Dodgers and the Phillies from Philadelphia tonight at 6:08 with the Dodgers a 1-0 advantage in that NLDS. There you go. Twin Peaks on the Northeast side. We're in Castleton today. Thank you very much for joining us. I do have this question that was asking me. James sent it to me. Caller asked, Colts schedule has been soft as a pillow. So what am I talking about? So, James, does the phrasing go here? Did it sound like the Colts schedule has been as soft as a pillow so far? What are you talking about? Like that?
Yeah, pretty much that's how it was.
Well, here's what I'm talking about. The Colts are 4-1. They've played well, and it's weird. They have this dynamic at work in the NFL where if you get off to a good start and the teams you're playing aren't so great, you can't sub one team out for a better team in a given week to see if you're real or if you're a pretender. They make you play the teams that are designated on your schedule. So that's why they're doing this. You see, when the schedule comes out, you have to play the teams on your schedule. And that's why the Colts are doing that. That's why the Colts are doing this, and that's why they haven't subbed out a better team. That's why Buffalo or, hot right now, New England have not been subbed onto the schedule because when they come out with a schedule, that's the schedule you have to play. So that's why. They are 4-1. They could have very easily lost in week 2 at home to Denver. They could have very easily won a week ago in Southern California. They're 4-1 against the teams that have been on their schedule so far. But the one thing that you have to look at is how well that they are playing. how different of a product this is. And then when they match up, for example, in Pittsburgh coming up in early November, or maybe even going back to Southern California against a Chargers team that hasn't looked good so far either, maybe those are gauges of your choice where you think it's more appropriate for Colts fans to be excited about the product they've seen start 4-1. Or us talk positively about this team that has started 4-1. I think it's appropriate, and I think a game like yesterday was something that Colts fans needed, and needed in a big way. So hopefully that answers the question to the caller that did not have time to hang on. Meantime, 239-1070. Mike is in New Pal on line number 2. Hello, Mike. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm actually back in New Pal. I flew up for the weekend. I fly back to Arkansas tomorrow. Getting some good time with Donna here. I wish I could have made it up to see you at Twin Peaks, but I want to say something that really strikes home to me. What you said about social media. I've been a part of that juggernaut in the past, and once you hit that send button, man, you're done. You're done. Now, as far as your question that went out about Coach Steichen and Daniel Jones, I almost think it's like a kindred spirit. They're beating off each other. They get it. They get it. We got the same manpower. We've got everything going on. Yes, I understand your schedule you just mentioned about. I think we can, I don't want to say run the table, but it's one of those things where the schedule, yes, is in our favor, and we just have to take care of business, especially at home. The crowd was great yesterday. I was glad to be back in Indy to be able to watch that game, and I'm just grateful for how you present everything.
They have Mike and New Pal. They have positioned themselves nicely right now with the way the schedule breaks. And that's all you can do. They haven't jacked around with lower level competition, and the one loss that they have, they basically did to themselves. And you can also look at that game against arguably the best team on their schedule so far, the Rams, on the road, playing equal, if not better than. Listen, if A.D. Mitchell scores, if Jonathan Taylor is allowed to score and that doesn't get called back with a holding call, I mean, they win that game going away. So there are other aspects of this schedule and the way this team has played that you can view and analyze more so than just wins and losses and competition.
Exactly. No, I totally agree with you. And you have easier schedule coming up. Yeah, we got to pull for the Chiefs tonight because you got to win the division. And I just it's amazing. I did not expect it. And man, I wish I could have gotten up there tonight to see you. But anyway, it's all good. And when I get back down to Arkansas, I'll connect Donna and me and you and talk to you on the takeover.
You got it, buddy. You got it, buddy. Thank you. Mike and New Pal right there. Shout out to Donna as well in New Pal. Awesome listeners. No, there are ways where you can watch and analyze without saying, well, the Raiders stink. Well, at one point in week number 1, the Raiders looked like one of the best teams in the AFC. But since that point in time, they've been flushed down the toilet. And the Raiders were without their biggest weapon, Brock Bowers, yesterday. That was substantial. But you can't help that. But what you do have to do is play the team that's on your schedule. And beating that team, a team that you should beat, a team that our caller evidently described to James as being soft as a pillow, you beat him 40-6. So you did exactly what you needed to do. JMV at 239-1070 is the text line. To add to your point about playing the schedule you have to play, they aren't playing down to their opponents. We've seen that in the past, and Colin, you're right. They're not playing down to their opponents. They did not do that yesterday. JMV, the Colts have played enough games now for us to know that they are a good team as long as they stay healthy. they're going to make the postseason. And you just look at what else is going on in the AFC. What's happened to the Ravens? Now the Chiefs, we'll watch them on Monday Night Football, trying to dig out of what was a slow start and getting Xavier Worthy back, and that being a big deal as well. Look at the Bengals without Joe Burrow. And even, I guess, on a positive note, with what Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers have looked like so far. You know, we mentioned the Raiders, the Chargers off to a slow start. Yeah, Jacksonville, we'll see what happens. That's a good matchup later on tonight on Monday Night Football, of which you can watch right here. Twin Peaks, we're in Castleton, Northeast Side. Would love to see you. The ice-cold beer and the great food on a Monday before the start of Monday Night Football. And both the you got both two games, in fact, tonight, both in the NLDS in Philly and in Milwaukee coming up later on tonight. You can watch right here at Twin Peaks. Great TVs, great atmosphere, and a great time. Stephen Holder coming up at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Spencer Schrader is done for the season. Where will the Colts look? I've given you some options there. I don't know if they're legit, but they're options nonetheless. That and more with Stephen Holder coming up at the top of the hour. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
With JMV.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
It's a turnover on downs by the Raiders. The Colts begin first and 10 at the Raider 44-yard line. Deep drop by Daniel Jones, taking a shot downfield for Ashton Dillon, and he goes up and makes the grab. He's got it inside the 10, down to the 9-yard line goes Ashton Dillon for a gain of 35 yards.
Matt Taylor right there, the voice of the Colts. We're live at Twin Peaks on the Northeast Side. Thank you for joining us. Your spot for Monday Night Football. Got a couple of NLDS games later on tonight, both game twos. Dodgers up a game, best of 5 in Philadelphia. That's underway a little after 6. Cubs and Milwaukee coming up later on tonight. A little bit after 9, the Cubs in need of a win to even up that best of 5 NLDS at a game apiece. And that's a little after 9. So you're right here. You're going to get a chance to watch a little bit of everything. And again, your level of interest should be here as well, considering you have Kansas City and Jacksonville. So you've got the Chiefs on the schedule and the dump note is Arrowhead later on this year. And then 2 meetings with the Jaguars still to come too. So a game of interest with Colts fans in mind coming up later on tonight. Now, I would. He's our PD, and he's also a part of the Fan Morning Show. Jeff Rickard is here. I'd ask him to come on, but he is taking part in what is great food. He is having himself a meal right now, and we are going to let him chill and have a meal right now and not have to take part. But, man, good to have Jeff here. Good to have you guys here as well. Joe, line 1, 239-1070. Until Joe is now gone. Thank you very much, Joe, for the time that you have had. I mentioned Stephen Holder coming up at the top of the hour. If you missed this update, ESPN had it earlier today. Spencer Schrader is done for the season. They report a torn ACL and MCL. So the Colts are going to be looking out for a new place kicker. And certainly there are a variety of names out there. The former Pro Bowler, Young-Ho Koo, was cut loose by Atlanta, but he has been on a significant struggle bus for a number of times now. So I don't know what is going to be specific. You know, I mentioned Maddox Trujillo, who was the guy out of Temple, who has the longest field goal in the history of Lincoln Financial Field as a member of the Temple Owls. He was in camp and then cut by the Colts before the start of the season. Maybe that is the direction they look. Michael Badgley is a guy that has been here before. You know that name. Austin Siebert, Zane Gonzalez, Cade York are all names of interest that are out there as well. And I thought Greg Rakestraw put this about as well as you could on the postgame show yesterday when somebody had asked, well, what about Blankenship? You know, Blankenship has been on TikTok and he's kicking and he was in the UFL. And Greg said, I don't think that this search is just going to be about somebody that has walked through the doors on West 56th Street before. And I think there's a great deal of accuracy because you want to find somebody that you truly believe in that's going to be here for the remainder of the season. It is a tough set of circumstances, don't get me wrong. In a season that has started out 4-1 and is going very well, that is not good. Now, beyond that, if you're asking me some things that might concern me about this Colts team, even with the nice start, I've said this before, and I've talked to Rick Venturi about this, and I actually asked him this question yesterday on the Colts pregame huddle. If a team decides to run the football and is able to stick with that plan, especially outside the tackles, I think that is problematic for the Colts. Teams have not been able to stick to that plan yet. That's something that would concern me. And then still that secondary is an area of concern. Jalen Jones need to double back in a big hurry. Also injuries, too, we'll talk about. We mentioned Schrader and his situation being done for the season as well. but also injuries along the defensive line. And Mike Hilton was another injury as of yesterday as well. That and more with Stephen Holder coming up on the other side of ESPN and ESPN.com. This reminder, Win Schuler spreadability for the fall of 2025 and the football season. Your snacking ability starts with Win Schuler's, whether it's chips or crackers, vegetables, or even on a burger. Win Schuler's spreadability. You can find it today in your favorite local grocer's refrigerator. Stephen Holder on the other side. Twin Peaks Northeast Side, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Your pants is cool. Consider me Miles Davis.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Smith, empty set, all by himself in the shotgun. 3 receivers go to the right, including Jacoby Myers, slot right. Ooh. Ball in the left hash. Geno Smith takes a shotgun snap. Great protection, dancing in the pocket, throws it up into the air. The ball is batted in the air, and it's tipped and intercepted by Laiatu Latu, his second interception this season. As the Colts got their hands up, batted the pass into the air from Geno Smith, and Laiatu Latu intercepted the pass. Grover Stewart is going to get credit for the pass defense.
Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts right there. The Colts win 40-6 over the Raiders, 4-1. Get Arizona coming up at 1 o'clock. That's next Sunday. Lucas Oil Stadium back at Twin Peaks on the northeast side. Thank you for joining us. Stephen Holder in just a second. I did want to remind you, Colts Roundtable coming up with Matt and company at the top of the 6 o'clock hour after that game 2 of the NLDS with the Cubs and the Brewers, with Milwaukee up a game in that best of 5. That is coming up later on tonight here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. I did want to mention here before I get to Stephen, Jeff Rickard is in the building. He came in to eat with a great food
good sandwich
and
right
hang
there.
out really quick from the morning show with Jeff and James Boyd and Kevin Bowen. You doing all right over there, brothers?
I am now. Finally got to eat today. It was
Well
good.
done. What do you think about this 4-1 start for the Colts? We've all been kind of debating this so far, the good and the very small bad about it.
Well, it's nice, right? And they're 4-1, and you'll take that. And the schedule hasn't been great, but you know what? They've been hammering some of those teams too. They hammered 3 of their 5 teams that they've played so far. They got a little bit lucky in the Denver game. We'll take that. That's kind of how it goes. NFL tends to even out over the course of the year. All I know is this morning I wake up and I'm looking through everything, and I thought 4-1. What does that actually get the Colts? Because they're sitting there with a plus 74 points differential. That's big after 5 games.
It is.
They are number 1 in the AFC right now. They are 4-0 in the AFC. They're ahead of Buffalo. Even though they're tied at 4-1, got a long way to go. Still got, 12 games remaining? But would you have thought in your wildest dreams, midway through August in camp, that this team would be at the top of the AFC a third of the way through the season?
Especially the way the schedule lays out. I thought they'd be 3-2, but I also know where we are, where we reside right now, the way they're playing. They're playing really good football on both sides, and also trying to navigate through some injuries and situations of their own. So, you could not have asked Jeff for a better start.
So you do what you do, right? You play the teams that are in front of you. You play the game that's in front of you. And right now, Daniel Jones has been terrific. I would say ultra efficient to really good. They've been great at taking advantage of their opportunities. Look at how well they've done in the red zone. Like, they're getting a field goal or a touchdown every time down. And they'll get more touchdowns as they go along. They've got one of the 2 best running backs in the NFL, maybe the best right now, certainly in performance. They've got a very deep receiving core. I thought Josh Downs played terrific yesterday. I thought Ashton Doolin was great yesterday. I'm a little worried at linebacker right now. I hope that the depth at secondary doesn't catch up to him at some point in time. But they're actually starting to get a little bit of a pass rush right now at Latu. Made a nice play to get the interception yesterday as well. We know that DeForest Buckner is just a man. I'm a little worried about what might happen with this bicep issue with Grover Stewart. That's a big boy. You need him down in the middle there.
Yeah.
But I'll take 4-1 right now, and I don't think anybody should feel bad about it or make excuses for it or say, oh, yeah, it's against soft competition. You're in the NFL. You're 4-1. You've had 5 games. You've won 4. I'll take that.
So it matters. Jeff Rickard tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. He and James Boyd and Kevin Bowen have you for the Fan Morning Show. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Appreciate you. Thanks very much.
Jeff Rickard right there on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com. Hey, Stephen, I asked this question a little bit earlier. Who do you think has benefited more from the other's presence, Shane Steichen or Daniel Jones?
That's a great question. I actually think Daniel Jones to a degree, because I think this is the best football he's ever played. And I don't think that was going to come out of him without the right coach. And so, it's a hypothetical. How can we know? But I just think that it's not just that he's making the right reads, making accurate throws and all that. Somehow Shane has gotten him to play with a confidence he has never played with. This guy, he's in control. He's standing tall in the pocket. He's unafraid. This is a completely different version of the guy that we have seen. Obviously, he's playing better, but it's more than that. And I think there's something about the connection they have, the preparation that he has gone through with Steichen on a week-to-week basis, whatever it is. I don't know. But whatever it is, it has given him just a different level of confidence. And I think that's the intangible thing that we can't explain about all this with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, it's funny. It's almost like it's equal. Because here's what I gather. I think Shane Steichen is a better offensive coach because there are not chapters of his playbook that are off limits because of what you trust and how you feel about the quarterback to execute whatever play you call. I think that he has been turned loose as much as Daniel Jones has been turned loose because of weapons, Jonathan Taylor included, and protection. But I think Daniel Jones has made the protection better because of the decision-making being quicker. I think the offensive line in protection has looked better as well.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think, even more so than just like what Steichen can call because, he's got a more advanced quarterback. It's bigger than that, though. I would say it's also this. One of the things that Shane tells me all the time, his favorite thing to say about quarterback play and about offense is that he says, you have to have answers. Okay, meaning the defense is going to have some stuff up their sleeve. And you don't know what's coming. And when it comes, you got to have a counter for it. Well, he loads Daniel Jones up with answers, potential answers to problems. And he can do that because he can handle the volume and he's experienced and all these things, right? And so that his ability to handle that and to adjust has made him a better quarterback, and it makes Shane a better play caller because now the call that you made that wouldn't have worked, he's got an alternative and he can go to it, and he's prepared to do that. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. But that is a lot of what you're seeing, I think, is Shane providing the answers and Daniel Jones accessing the answers, when the situation calls for it. They're just processing all that real time, and it's going pretty well. Last thing I'll say is there have been situations this year where it's hard to explain, but in particular red zone situations, there have been some plays this year where Daniel Jones has gone to the line of scrimmage with not only 2 plays, but 3. So they always go with 2 plays. Hey, here's your play, and here's your check if you need it, meaning, the audible. But then there's also sort of a third option that they talk about throughout the week, which is, hey, if you get this look in any particular situation in the red zone, you can go to this. And that's just kind of unsaid, but it's sort of a built-in check, if you will. So I don't know if any of that is landing, but that's a lot of volume that he's able to pile on him, and he's handling it.
So Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com by the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We learned today Spencer Schrader's done for the season. So what do you think the Colts, in name, I guess, in this case, may be looking for in this guy? To me, it's going to be somebody you want to make sure can come in and can be your long-term, and it's a bad spot, no doubt about that, but your long-term solution for your injured player. It is a bad deal, but any names that you may be thinking about right now that they may have interest in?
I honestly don't know who they're looking at right now. They have some guys who will be in, I believe, to work out probably tomorrow, if I understand correctly. And I don't know the identities yet, but I do think you do have to think of it in those terms. Like, this has to be a guy, like, he can get us through. And so two things. Number one, you've got to think about kickoffs. That's another big thing, okay? Because that's a huge thing right now, right? The field position swings are huge, and if you get the right kicker. So it's got to be a guy who can handle that, and then it's got to be obviously a reliable kicker. They will not have, more than likely at least, they will more than likely not get someone who will perform the way Spencer Strader has. 13 of 14, he had, I think it was 7 field goals over his first 2 games he converted, which is wild, right? The pace he was on was crazy, and he is a big reason, or I guess was a big reason that they are a top 5 scoring team in the NFL right now. So big shoes to fill, no question about it, for whoever they bring in. But look, I would say this: if you have to lose a player, the one place where there are options on the street, for lack of a better word, is kicker. It doesn't mean they're going to be Hall of Famers, but there are options out there. There always are. There are always available kickers because every team only carries one. So all those teams that carried, an extra kicker in the preseason who ends up getting cut, well, they're all out there, right? So they will have options. It's early enough in the season that not a lot of these guys have had to be swapped out yet. So I think they'll have some options, even if it won't be someone as good as Spencer Strader.
I don't know if you've thought about this because it's been all positive, and listen, Tyler Warren has been absolutely incredible so far, and I think probably could be even more productive if they would choose to use him even more so in that capacity. But has there been a memo sent around with NFL officiating about him, get a little forearm shiver in back-to-back games? You see something flagged on him that is rarely flagged on any offensive player. So what gives?
Yeah, I hate both of the calls that he's gotten in consecutive weeks. I thought in the first one out in Los Angeles, I didn't like the call. I think it was the wrong call. The Colts think it was the wrong call. However, even Tyler, and I agree, even Tyler understands why they called it. In other words, he extended his arm, and from a distance, if you want to see interference, you could convince yourself that it was interference, right? Again, I don't think it was bad call, but I get what they saw. This one, I'm totally at a loss. I have no idea what they saw. Very weak call, I thought, on Warren in this particular game for the OPI. So I don't know. He's going to have to play, I guess, with his hands at attention from now on, because that's apparently what it's going to take. I don't think that was interference at all.
Who's been the most valuable on this team so far? Daniel Jones or Jonathan Taylor?
I think the answer is probably Daniel Jones. Even though I think Taylor is the most talented guy. He's the best player, perhaps the best player at his position right now in the league. Okay, so it doesn't get better than that. Now, the reason I say Jones is because we have seen Jonathan Taylor at his pinnacle without good quarterback play, and it doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? So the guy who's making it come together is the quarterback. Jonathan Taylor is more dangerous because of the quarterback. The quarterback is what is making all of those wide receivers so dangerous. So I think because of the impact of the quarterback across the board and the broader impact of the quarterback, I say Daniel Jones, just because there has been just such a lack of consistency at that position for the Colts. But Jonathan Taylor, look, let me be clear. That guy is playing as well as he ever has right now. And, defenses, they're having to make some really tough choices, and they're not working out well for them.
Stephen Holder of ESPN on ESPN.com. Colts win. They're 4-1. Get Arizona coming up on next Sunday at 1 o'clock at Lucas Oil Stadium. Stephen's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, as he is every Monday after 5 o'clock. We talked about Spencer Schrader and now a resolution they'll have to come up with for their kicker who was done for the season. What is the latest injury-wise on both Grover Stewart and Mike Hilton? Because this defense probably cannot take much more than what they've taken so far in that category.
That's true. I agree with you on that. They're reaching a breaking point. There's no question about that. I don't know details on Grover. I saw him in the locker room, and I asked him very specifically, I said, is this a serious injury? And he said to me, I'm going to be fine. Players always say that, granted.
Yes.
but Grover's a tough guy, and he generally will try to play through something if it's not truly a major injury. Hilton, less clear on that one. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there. And that one, they're both equally of concern if they're serious injuries. The problem with the problem with Hilton is that you're already short with Kenny Moore. I don't think Kenny Moore is going to be much longer, but he could be another week. We don't know. He hasn't practiced yet, so I don't think it's right to assume that he plays this week, even though I was told it'd be a couple weeks. I don't know where we are there. So if Hilton's out, then you start digging deep, and Blackman, I guess, comes into play there. Mekhi Blackman, who apparently needs a new pair of cleats. He keeps falling down on huge plays, and then we'll have to see who else kind of fits in there in that slot role. But it's getting pretty thin.
All right, if there is somebody, and I know that all we've watched here recently would be the Arizona Cardinals really screwing themselves late in games, late in the fourth quarter, final possessions in the fourth quarter. But I would assume if there's anybody that would be capable of handling Shane Steichen and know what he's trying to do offensively, would be that of Jonathan Gannon and the Cardinals. And even as bad as they looked, and I mean, that whole yakety sax act that they had the fourth quarter yesterday, notwithstanding, I think that is going to be maybe the biggest challenge, because that would be a guy that would know a little bit of everything regarding Shane Steichen and what he wants to do and how he wants to execute offensively.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they both were coordinators in Philadelphia at the same time. They're friends. They text each other. So, they're pals, and they probably do know a lot about how the other thinks. I think it goes both ways. I think the opposite is also true. Shane Steichen has probably some pretty good ideas on how to attack Jonathan Gannon. So I think it's going to be a good battle is what I think. And it will come down to players to a degree, because, well, certainly the coaches will duel and try to outdo one another, but it also oftentimes boils down to execution, and can they figure it out? Can the players figure it out, I should say. So, who calls the best game, we'll see, but who gets the best execution might decide it, frankly. And I think that the Colts have more talent, but I don't want to sort of overlook the playmakers that Arizona has. There's an awful loss yesterday. I'm not going to, try to make them something that they're not. But certainly, you look, from a personnel perspective, they have some guys that can beat you. So we will see what happens.
Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com every Monday at 5 o'clock with Colts Recap. As usual, right here on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hey, Stephen, I always appreciate that very much so, and we'll talk at you coming up next Sunday inside Lucas Oil Stadium.
All right, you got it. Talk soon.
Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com. Quick break. We'll come back. Your thoughts at 239-1070. 317-239-1070 on the text line as well. We will end the show with you guys and I talking things up, and we'll get you to Colts Roundtable coming up at the top of the hour. Twin Peaks, Northeast Side, Castleton, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The golden, check that, I'm sorry. The Monon Spike. The Monon Spike. I'm going to shout out the Loggins right here with that Top Gun re-entry. Oh, yeah, volleyball. That's why James is playing this. The volleyball scene in Top Gun and volleyball with IU and Purdue. The Monon Spike, James, that is at the Fieldhouse, correct?
You are correct.
October the 16th? Oh, man. Never has there been volleyball played better than when Tom Cruise played it shirtless in jeans back in 1986 in Top Gun. All right, number 9 at 239-1070. The Monon Spike, IU, and Purdue. October 16th, Cambridge Fieldhouse. Number 9 is going to go on us to check out the Monon Spike. I'd mentioned a little bit earlier, too. I am off for the next 2 days. I'm going. My mom turns 80 today. She was dealing with some types of tax. I called her today, and she was dealing with tax stuff, so we didn't stay on very long, but she wants to go to Jasper. I'm assuming that's to the Schnitzelbank. Maybe not. I'll let you guys know, but I'm a big fan of Jasper, as you all know. So I'm going to go to Jasper. Shout out to DuBois County. If I see you down there, say hello. That is coming up tomorrow. I am off Tuesday and Wednesday. And then back with you, our Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Our friend Billy is here with us right now. He knows this to be true. The Ale Emporium in Greenwood off of County Line Road on Thursday. So that's Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. And I will say this, my picks for week number 5, it really should have been a lot better. But if I can get Kansas City to do a little something for me tonight, I think this is survivable. I think this is, right now, I believe I stand on 8 wins, and believe me, there's nothing great out of that. But I will tell you, it could have been a lot worse. I started out 0-2 Thursday night, got kicked in the junk. And then if you watched in London, the Vikings and the Browns yesterday, that was pretty awful. Yeah, really awful. But, the Texans pick was solid. For some reason, I thought I'd gone with the Dolphins, but I ended up going with Carolina, so that was strong. The Colts -7 on Thursday when I made that pick. That was easy. I went with the Saints. I didn't believe in Jackson Dart in start number 2, and the Saints got it done for me. Cowboys in a big way on the road against the Jets got it done. That was -2.5 on Thursday when we made that pick. Yeah, the Eagles with the grand screw job for me, Devin, what the Broncos had over there. Thank you very much. The Broncos, the road win. That was the first time since, December of last year the Eagles had lost at home. Maybe it was prior to that. Maybe it was going back 2 years. But that wasn't good for me. The Cardinals, I picked them. Yeah, you know how that ended. The Seahawks went with them. Shout out to the Buccaneers and the Seahawks with the throwback unis. Listen, somebody had asked me yesterday, what do you think is the best throwback, the Seahawks or the Buccaneers from yesterday? That's always going to be easy because, simply put, the greatest NFL uniform of all time, and only second to the late 70s Astros uniforms in baseball, would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The creamsicles on display yesterday, so I got bagged on that one. The Lions, 10.5-point favorites on the road in Cincinnati. I got that one done. Commanders on the road against the Chargers. Oh, man. Justin Herbert, awful. The Chargers, awful. The return of Jaden Daniels, that one was a good one for me. the Patriots, and I didn't think they were going to win, but the Bills had been unable to cover up until this point of the season, so I did go with the Pats, and then they go ahead on Sunday Night Football and win that outright. And then I have the Chiefs minus 3.5 on the road against the Jaguars coming up later on tonight. So I am looking to have at least a decent, considering some of the losses yesterday, week number 5 in our Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Again, that is coming up. Ale Emporium in Greenwood, that is on Thursday. Sam Silver Circle, Bud Light Blue Friday with us coming up on Friday near Fountain Square. We have Arizona Cardinals Colts tickets to give away. Sam Silver Circle, that is on Friday on a Bud Light Blue Friday. So that is the schedule. Greg Rakestraw in for me tomorrow. I know that tomorrow he's got Mo Alley Cox on the show. Greg Rakestraw tomorrow. Greg Rakestraw on Wednesday for me. And then I am back Thursday at the Ale Emporium in Greenwood, again on Thursday, and then on Friday, Sam Silver Circle. So on the road with you Thursday and Friday with the show as well. Meantime, 239-1070 is that number. Back to the phones we go, and Jeff is up next. Hello, Jeff. How are you?
JMV, I'm good. Hey, somebody needs to tell Holder our kicker field goals doesn't kick off, by the way. So I think you might have gotten a little confused there. So
I'm more worried about the place kicking situation with Schrader right here more than anything else, because I think you kind of look at that, everybody's 4-1 and everybody feels good about that, but that's something that I think is going to be even more magnified, and it's unfortunate the way that went down yesterday too.
Yeah, it is. Here's the thing I think you guys were talking about most valuable. Here's the one thing I think you talked about it a lot. We needed some DBs. We picked up a couple, decent DBs in the off season. Our defensive line, I said this for a couple of years, it was never bad. It's because they had to have so many people back for passes that they could run on us. But our offensive line's decent. But I think the MVP of the year is the tight end. I think Warren's the MVP. And here's why I'm going to tell you that. If you look at the league, it's a quarterback league. And we just had a putrid quarterback for the last few years. And he couldn't complete passes. He made bad reads. And tight end is the second position, I think, in the NFL that's the most important, or maybe a shutdown corner. You get Warren in there, and he demands a lot of attention. So this is the most I've seen our receivers open in years. And I think because we have so many dynamics now, we can run the ball. We can get to the tight end. Getting to the tight end is huge. I mean, you look at Kansas City with Kelsey. What was the guy for the Eagles last year? I can't remember who their tight end is. But
Dallas Goedert still this year too.
Goddard, yeah. So I think there's got to be a lot of play on how valuable he is. He's a top 5 in my book in the NFL right now. I mean, the guy is. Well,
and I would agree with you. And I want you to play off of what I have to say as well. I don't think teams have really started to game plan for him very much. And I think the Colts still could utilize him in a greater capacity if they wanted to. I agree with you. I think as far as a weapon is concerned, he is significantly much more of a problem for everybody else than what anybody outside of what we're discussing here in Indy has had to say.
Yeah, big problem. And it's nice to see how well they've passed the ball around too. I picked up Downs in my fantasy because he hasn't done much, and sure enough, he started being a lot more active, and they started getting the ball. I don't really like what they did to A.D. Mitchell. I mean, they didn't bench Taylor when he did the same thing that basically kept them out of the playoffs last year. I get it. He made a mistake, and then he had a holding call. But I don't know if and Doolin had a great game, don't get me wrong. But there's
no. Hey, don't look at it that way, though. Hey, Jeff, don't look at it that way. Here's why. Because that was a perfect time to try to teach a lesson. And then you got the most out of Ashton Doolin in the process, some great positives. So I thought it was perfect for them to be able to not utilize A.D. Mitchell, especially without Alec Pierce. That was, I think, the perfect day to be able to do that, and either the guy is going to learn or he's not going to learn. So I thought yesterday was the perfect set of circumstances for that to go down the way they decided for it to go down. So I really did. I mean, it wasn't close. You didn't need him. It didn't matter. And also there was a great example of both he and Richardson not on the same page when Richardson threw that pass, and they're both kind of questioning, all right, am I in the right spot? And another great example, if you want to or lean on learning experiences, if you still trust that he can learn from things that he doesn't do right, there's yet another one right there, and you can do it without any consequences whatsoever.
Did you see the Denver game?
No, yesterday, absolutely. Yeah, it was making me sick.
Did you see how dumb Peyton was by kicking the field goal with 11 seconds left on the time clock? And had they called that interference with 3 seconds to go on the 5-yard line, there still was time on the clock. And I don't know what he was thinking by not running that thing down to a second and calling timeout, but don't leave time on the clock. I was like, that's supposed to be one of the greatest coaches, supposedly, and that was a boneheaded move by him. So they won the game, don't get me wrong, but
it was impressive to go in there and win. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah. No, I think the Colts will be fine. I kind of believe that they have a lot of talent on that team, and the quarterback was the big thing they were missing. He's got good accuracy. The receivers are getting open. I think, again, the line's better. It's just opening up a lot of things. They're as good as anyone in the NFL right now, I think. So I think everyone's real happy about 4-1. I think I don't know if you watch Pulp Fiction or not, but I think there's a saying by Winston Wolfe where he says, let's not start sucking each other's you-know-whats right now. So I think it's great. We're 4-1, but we've got the meat of our schedule coming up here before too much longer. So we'll see how it pans out.
Oh, man, the reference, Jeff, with Mr. Wolf right there. The Wolf. That's outstanding right there. Thank you, Jeff, for the call. And the Pulp Fiction reference. Hey, by the way, on Saturday, Purdue, 43-27 loser at home to Illinois. Yeah, on the road at Minnesota. Coming up on the 11th. Ball State, that's a winner. When's the last time they beat Ohio, and especially Ohio and Athens? Ball State with a 2014 win over Ohio. Notre Dame, big-time win over Boise State. They get North Carolina State coming up next weekend, and then that historic matchup with USC after that. And IU, college game day experience once again for the Hoosiers on the road at Oregon. 3:30 is that kick coming up from Eugene. Number 7 v. number 3. 2:30 your coverage begins. I believe that game with Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers. And I'm assuming that on the road is going to compromise his appearance with us coming up on Friday. But 2:30 your coverage on 93 WIBC. Ball State, Western Michigan next week. Brandon is in the house. Indiana State a loser to Southern Illinois. South Dakota and Indiana State coming up. That is next weekend as well. Hey, Brandon, how are you, buddy? I'm sitting. Oh, there's Billy right there, Brandon. 239-1070. Brandon is here, and Anthony joins us now on the phones. Hello, Anthony.
JMV, how are you, my man?
Anthony, what's up?
So, first of all, I'm kind of in the same boat with you earlier quickly on the Mark Sanchez thing, but I just want to give a shout-out to Scott Bennett, one of the best bartenders in the city, man. He works at Los Angeles over there, and he probably saved Mark Sanchez's life, depending on, obviously, we're all going to lean to side with the 69-year-old man, but shout out to Scott. I mean, overall good dude and a great bartender.
Well, and Mark Sanchez is probably, there's going to be a lot to pay for here with the felony charges. But no, I do. I like Scott a great deal, and I love the place. And I don't even think they were open. Were they at the time?
No, he was closed. They were closed. He was banging on the window.
Yeah.
Scott was cleaning and let him in and called the ambulance.
Scott is a great dude. I've done shows over there before. Scott's a really good dude.
He's the best, man. He's the best. But I just wanted to say with the kicker thing, why not sign Hot Rod back, man? I mean,
They may end up doing that. They may end up doing that.
I think the kid, everybody loved him. He's, he deserves a second chance. Obviously, he was here through some crappy times. And if he doesn't work out, what's the worst that happens? You know what I mean? He's already been here. He's been comfortable. He knows what's going on in Indy.
Is there any way they go with Maddox Trujillo? Is there any way they go with Maddox Trujillo that they cut before the start of the season, the other kicker that was in camp?
Yeah, he's got a cannon for a leg. That's what you said. I get that. I don't know, man. I guess sentimentally I kind of like the specs and like to see Hot Rod back here in Indy, but sucks for Schrader, man, because like you said, the kid was balling. As much as a kicker can ball, he was balling, with the exception of maybe the dude in Dallas. I don't know who else I want. Could we call Jerry Jones? Would he get? I know it sounds crazy to trade a draft pick for a kicker, but he seems like he's losing his mind. Maybe we call the Cowboys.
They're going to be trying out on West 56 this week, and we'll find out who they end up going with. But yeah, that is unfortunate, because there are things that you want to believe in and just know that will be positive for you, and that had been one. And you hate to turn that into a bit of an unknown and a negative until further notice, and that's what that injury does for this team.
Right. Somebody locally was talking about us trading for Max Crosby. Have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't heard. No, I would have to think, when people bring up Anthony trades, I would have to think where you might concentrate would be if there is a corner possibility, given the corner situation and, the return or when that's going to be of Jalen Jones, the health of the secondary, and Mike Hilton, obviously, with his injury concerns. If there were going to be a focus in on a possible trade, I would have to think that may end up being more of the area than anything else.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just know he's an absolute game breaker, and I figured now that we might not have a top 10 pick every year for the next couple of years, if we can, continue on this pace, fingers crossed, that he's something to look into. But I appreciate you, man. You're amazing. Have fun at Twin Peaks. Enjoy the view.
Oh, man, I love Twin Peaks up here in Castleton. What a great group, by the way. Thank you, Anthony. And he mentioned Scott Bennett, too, Lock Millers. Yeah, great spot, and they were closed when that incident went down, too. But I've done a number of shows, and I have a great deal of friendship with so many of those that, work in that service industry and the bars and the restaurants and have ownership of those spots really everywhere, just like this, but also in downtown Indy. And Scott's a good dude. There's no doubt about that. A quick break. We'll come back. If you're on hold, I'll get to you. Yeah, we have the text line at 317-239-1070 available as well. Bullseye passes, maybe James, before I bail out of here, before that Arizona game. BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. You get Greg Rakestraw tomorrow. He has Mo Alley Cox, Colts tied in for you. And then Greg again on Wednesday. I've got you at the Ale Emporium in Greenwood on Thursday. Sam Silver Circle outside of Fountain Square on Friday this week. But today on a Monday, Twin Peaks, Castleton, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Windschuler Spreadability, original sharp bacon and cheddar, jalapeno pepper. Find Windschuler Spreadability. Got to have it. Snack table, tailgate party, whatever. Just tonight. Watching baseball, watching Monday Night Football. Find it in your favorite grocer's refrigerator. I know that I've located it on Meyer. I'm going to go up here on 96th Street to this Gordon Food Service, too, and grab some on my way out of here. Twin Peaks, Northeast Side, thank you all for joining us today. It has been a fantastic time, per usual. Eddie Garrison does remind me, I brought up Tyler Bass and his return coming off of injury, and that could end up happening this week. So Matt Prater would become available with Tyler Bass's return in Buffalo. That's something that Colts kicking-wise should be worthy of watching as well. And for those of you who have asked, with the whole Justin Tucker situation, his availability is not until week number 10. So, as they say, that ain't happening. JMV, who was the competition for Schrader during training camp? That was Maddox Trujillo out of Temple. Longest field goal make in the history of Lincoln Financial Field for the Owls. Named after former right-handed pitcher Greg Maddox. Maddox Trujillo was his competition, and he was cut loose before the start of the season. Another name to keep in mind, too. So Joe from Mooresville, that was his competition. Hey, JMV, how about we play your favorite happy birthday song for your mom's 80th from all of your Ride with JMV and JMV Takeover friends, Jim in Southern California. Yeah, my mom turned 80 today, so I am taking the day off tomorrow to go down to Jasper to take her to Jasper, and then Greg Rakestraw tomorrow and on Wednesday as well. So thank you, Jim McCann. G is 80 today. Calvin's on line 1 at 239-1070. Hello, Calvin.
What's up, JMV? It's been about 3 years, brother, since I hollered at you, man. I've been on the road trying to make some money, but I wanted to get in just to talk Colts for a few minutes. I wanted to ask you thing on something. So here we are with our record. We played a schedule that is not scaring anybody. Tennessee, not a very good team, some other things. Do you feel that this is a legit 4-1 team, or do you feel it's a team that they are the benefactors of a bad schedule? The second part, and then I'm going to shut up. There's a kid who's going to Ohio University next year named Levi Davis. His brother played at Bowling Green. His sister played volleyball at Kansas. His dad's from Fort Wayne, Indiana. This kid might be the closest thing I've seen to Antoine Randall L. If he was 6'4", he would be at Ohio State. But because he's like 5'11", he's going to be at Ohio State in about 2 years. But I'm telling you, look him up, Levi Davis, Olentangy Orange. The kid might be the closest thing I've seen to Antoine Randall L. I'm going to shut up, listen to you. Love you, boy. Tell your mom and say happy birthday. Peace.
Man, thanks, Calvin. That's awesome. Thank you very much. I do have to run here, but thank you, Calvin, for that. I want to thank my friends at Twin Peaks. Dev, great job out of you, too. James back at the studio. Greg Rakestraw has Mo Alley Cox tomorrow. I didn't say Maddox. I said Maddox Trujillo, not Manny Trio. Shout out to you, Charles, on that one. Greg Rakestraw tomorrow and Wednesday for me. And then we're back. Ale Emporium, Greenwood, coming up on Thursday. Sam Silver Circle on Friday. You guys are always outstanding. Hey, keep them coming at JMV 1070 as well. I'll be reading them and interacting with you as well. Have a great night. Thanks, James. Colts Roundtable next.